cactus and succulent growers, I'm Lynn and welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon. And today's video I'm going to be talking about my Cephalocereus senilis that I have grown for 28 years, I think, yeah, 28 years. Now, this gorgeous Cephalocereus senilis, I'm going to talk about my history first and then how I care for it. Now, this is one I actually nickname Einstein because it has wacky white woolly hair. And the hair, by the way, guys, are actually modified spines. So it's not real hair like humans or animals, but it does actually really feel like it. And the word senilis, however you want to pronounce it, is actually because of obviously senile, known as the old man. And as a result of that, I nicknamed this Einstein. And it's just a bit of a funny name I have for this particular cactus. Now, I was 25 years old when I got this lovely Cephalocereus, and I got it when I lived in England from a garden centre called Knockcuts. And those of you who may be familiar with garden centres in England know Knockcuts is quite a well-known garden centre. And I remember when I first saw it and I was like, oh my goodness, I just love this woolly wonder. It was just amazing. And it was probably about that size. Bear in mind, this was 28 years ago, guys. So although it's quite big now, it is an extremely slow growing cactus. Now, this particular cactus has a lot of white hair because it grows naturally in central Mexico in its natural habitats. It's unfortunately a cactus that is getting less common in its natural habitats due to obviously all the building and everything else, and this is happening with a lot of cacti at the moment. But it's a very common one in people's collections because obviously it's how it looks. It's a wonderful addition to a cactus collection. And the white hair protects it from the harsh sun's rays in central Mexico. Obviously we don't get harsh sun's rays here in Ireland, not like you would in central Mexico, even in the summer. And also the white hair protects it as well from the heat, not just because of the white reflecting the heat from the sun, but also it also keeps it cool as well. And also the hair also protects it from animals, because animals who want to take a bite out of this cactus will be put off by its hair. So nature is really remarkable. So then how do I care for this? Now, this particular cactus loves a really sunny position. It's one of the cacti, the sunniest position you can give it, the better. Now, when I first got this 28 years ago, I put it into a sunny window, and it loved that because the more sun, the better, as I mentioned. So if you grow this Cephalocereus senilis, do make sure you give it the sunniest position you possibly can. Don't put it into a north-facing window. If all you have is a window that doesn't get much sun, or we don't have any particular bright spot, you must give them a grow light that's full spectrum LED and keep it on for the full length of the day, because this is a plant that would grow stretched out if you don't give it enough of the strong sun that this cactus needs. And not only would it stretch out, you'd also then have the problem with not having as much hair. The more light you can give this cactus, the more it's going to grow its amazing hair, which is part of its unique appearance. Now, these cacti can grow up to 15 meters in their natural habitats. They don't branch out as in side shoot, they branch from the base. And if you Google online some of these older mature specimens, they are quite remarkable. They're amazing tall columnar cacti. We're very striking with all of their hair. So as much sunshine as possible I try to give this cactus. I grow this cactus here in my polytunnel, so it gets a lot of light naturally here, which is brilliant. But as I mentioned, do add a grow light or a sunny window if you don't have anywhere particular to put this amazing type of cactus. I keep it in a very well draining, gritty cactus soil, and this is an absolute must because this particular cactus is very rot prone if it's planted in a soil that does not dry out too quickly. I have this in a glazed ceramic pot, and because of that I make sure that the soil I use is extra gritty. And I make a soil mix up of 3 equal parts of loam, sand, grit and a bit of pumice as well, because this cactus is one of the ones that will rot if it's doesn't dry out quickly in between waterings. Then I stop watering completely in the winter from sort of mid-September until mid-April. I don't give this any water at all, and this is the same if you keep this cactus indoors, because even if you keep it indoors for winter and it happens to be warm in your house and you water this cactus, it can rot. It's extremely rot prone. So no watering at all over the winter. During the spring and summer I will start to water from mid-April up until mid-September, as I mentioned, and I'll give it one good watering, and then this cactus particularly I wait till it is totally dry in the soil before I water again. And sometimes when you've got cacti like this in a particular large pot, you might say, well, this is dry at the top, but how do I know if it's dry down the bottom? So you always want to make sure that, as I say, it's a rot prone cactus, you have a pot that has a hole in the bottom. As you can see, they have a hole in the bottom, and you stick your finger in there and feel if it's damp. If it's dry, then you water again. If in doubt, do not. Give this less than more watering. It's essential with this one. So I water every time the soil is totally dried out. Also, lifting a cactus up gives you a bit of an idea. I'm familiar with the weight of this. This is very, other than the pot, it's very light at the moment. As I say, it's bone dry now because it's the winter time. But during the spring and summer when I water it, I'm thinking, yep, it feels dry. I will then make sure I lift it up and really check before I'll water again. I will fertilise this cactus with every 4th watering I give to it with a weak strength tomato feed, used at half the strength they recommend for tomatoes. And I've made a couple of videos about why I like to use tomato feed for fertilising all of my cacti and succulents, so do check that video out if you want more info on that. I'll link that video up above. And that does because it encourages flowering. Now this cactus particularly is way too small to get flowers yet. Doesn't matter how much sunshine I give it or fertilising, because they do need to grow very tall and columnar before they send out flowers. So you probably find this would have to be at least 1 metre high before I will see flowers, and they form like a cephalium at the top where the little flowers come out of. Well, the beautiful flowers I should say. So it's going to be quite a few years before I see this flower. I overwinter this here, as I mentioned, in my polytunnel at a minimum temperature of 5 Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's actually only 6 Celsius in here now, so I've got my hat on. Anyway, they like a cool and dry winter rest period, and this cactus can take -1, -2 Celsius, even lower than that, as long as they're kept dry. But as I say, to be on the safe side, 5 Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit to prevent any damage to this cactus. And pests you need to keep a real eye on. Personally, I've never once seen a single mealybug on this particular cactus, and it's not because it's covered in hair so you can't see them. I have my little light and my loop and I go round to check. It doesn't seem to be prone to pests. However, other growers who have grown this particular cactus have had problems with mealybugs, and it's extremely difficult to spot them on cacti with a lot of hair. So you do need to really check regularly, and any you see, dab on, and probably use a spray as well. The next thing I'll talk about is how I keep the hair clean on these. Well, I actually just use a little clean toothbrush, and during the spring and summer I'll sometimes give a little spray with water, and then I'll just give it a bit of a comb because I like it looking a bit like this. But it does stay pretty clean in itself. But if you need to clean the hair at all, a little bit of horticultural soap that's specially for plants in a bit of warm water, and just sort of wash it in like you would with hair, and then spray it with some water as well and comb it through with a little clean toothbrush. That seems to work at keeping this clean, and it does the job. So then that's how I care for this amazing cactus. So yep, I mentioned sunny position, water from April until mid-September, or whenever if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's going to be different. Basically the spring and summer with your watering routine. Leave it totally dry before I water again, completely dry, because it's very rot prone. And also a dry and cool winter rest period, they do like it. But even if you grow this indoors for winter, hold back on watering because it is very rot prone. So then Einstein, a little bit of history about that. So as I say, I've grown this beautiful 28 years, very, very special cactus. It's one of my golden oldies, and I absolutely love it so much. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and do stay tuned for lots more videos on my individual cacti that I've had in my collection a very long time, and they're extra special. So do you have this wacky woolly wonder? Do let me know in the comments down below. And by the way guys, I've actually made a video on all of the woolly hairy cacti I have in my collection, because I have quite a lot of other woolly hairy wonders. So if you want to see them, do check out the video I've made on all the hairy woolly cacti I have in my cactus collection. Links to that video will be up above. If you haven't done already, do subscribe and click that notification bell. And do check my website out for regular blogs on there and articles about growing cacti and succulents. DesertPlantsOfAvalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic, hairy, cactus-powered day.